Today for our press event for the Samsori project of the Eugene Bell Foundation. We're here to talk about Korean Americans who have family members in North Korea and have been unable to contact them for the past 50 years. First, I'll introduce the chairman of the Eugene Bell Foundation, Dr. Stephen Linton. He has made over 50 trips to North Korea as an American citizen as part of his work to do humanitarian aid in North Korea. Dr. Linton has a PhD in Korean Studies from Columbia University, and I'll welcome him to the stage right now.
Thank you, Alice. Alice is the director of our Samsori project, and she's going to tell you a little more about that a little later. Before I start, I would like to introduce James Lim, who is a board member of Eugene Bell and also the person who is in charge of our work in LA. He runs our LA effort. I'm going to tell you very briefly about Eugene Bell so that you'll know what the background of Samsori is. If you want more information about Eugene Bell, I have some brochures, but we're here today to talk about divided families. Eugene Bell is a humanitarian aid organization, a U.S. 501c3 that deals exclusively with North Korea. We were founded in 1995 and did 2 years of food assistance, and then at the request of the North Korean government switched over to medical assistance, primarily tuberculosis diagnosis, treatment, and care. As we speak, Eugene Bell assist on a regular basis over 40 North Korean hospitals and long-term tuberculosis treatment facilities. We call them care centers, primarily in the northwest of North Korea. And thus, for the last 10 years, as Eugene Bell's rep, I've been raising money for this effort and traveling extensively and talking to people not only in the U.S. but also in South Korea. We raise about 2/3 of our funding from South Korea and 1/3 of it from the U.S., primarily from the Korean American community. And that's what I want to talk to you about very briefly this afternoon. As you're raising money, you run into people with many, many interests and concerns that are related to North Korea. And one of the things that has been the most interesting and fulfilling for me was to be able to take the concern in the Korean American community for people suffering from life-threatening diseases in North Korea and to express their concern in the terms of medical assistance for North Korea. But while raising money for this effort, I'm forever running into American divided families. And it is really hard to finish a presentation to find that people are indeed willing to fund a medical effort in North Korea, but then to run into divided family people in the audience, usually always very elderly, and sometimes they'll come up and put $5 or $6 or $7 into my hand and say, can you find my sister? Can you find my brother? I haven't heard from them in over 50 years. And they usually break down and shed a few tears and say, I've heard that the famine in North Korea that was in 1995 was very hard on old people, and I'm afraid that they may not be alive, but if I could just find out if they were alive, it would mean so much. And I can do nothing. I can do nothing because Korean Americans, American citizens and permanent residents of the United States, have nowhere to turn for an official channel to find their family members who are in North Korea. This is not true of South Koreans. As you know, the South Korean government has a very active program for identifying and promoting reunifications between South Korean passport holders and North Koreans. Now, the numbers of actual reunification cases are not as many as people would like, but a lot of money and a lot of effort has been put into reunification of family members by the South Korean government, and you can see the progress of that effort day by day and week by week in South Korea. There are, in fact, Korean Americans who went to South Korea to ask the South Korean Ministry of Unification to help them with their divided family problems. And we even have refugee issues. And in fact, as of last year, there is now even a special envoy on refugees. And that means that there is in the U.S. government now an official channel of expressing concern for refugees from North Korea, but none for America's own citizens who happen to be divided families. Now, this is an enormous oversight. It's an almost unbelievable oversight, because as best we can determine, if we use South Korean statistics, which figure about 10% of their population are divided families, we're looking at upwards of 200,000 Americans who are divided families. Probably more, because the percentage of people from North Korea is higher in the States, is higher than in the general public in South Korea. This is unbelievable. How did this happen? It happened because America's divided families are separated from their elected officials and to an extent from American society by cultural barriers, by linguistic barriers that make it virtually impossible for their voice to be heard in our society, and thus their concerns have never officially been heard by our society or our government, or at least to the extent to which a channel, an official way of dealing with this problem has been set up. Not so with other minority issues related to North Korea. Did you know that the U.S. government spends, as far as I can determine, upwards of $1 million to reunite the families of servicemen who were killed in the Korean War with the remains of those service people who are found in North Korea? There's an ongoing missing in action program that is well funded, well supported by our government, and it should be that way. But how can we justify spending that much money for people who lost relatives in the Korean War and not spending anything on people who are alive today who have family in North Korea? I don't think this was deliberate. I think it was an oversight. But whatever the reasons for this oversight, we need to do something about it. And that's why the Eugene Bell Foundation has officially undertaken a Samsori project. Samsori means voice of a spring or voice of water. We tried to find a word in Korean that sounded good, that expressed perhaps one of the sounds that everyone can agree on. To someone who is thirsty, there is nothing quite like the sound of water. And we are hoping that Samsori will become the water, or the sound of water, a voice for the Korean American community's most vulnerable and least heard senior citizens, those who have family in North Korea. Now, I'm going to close my remarks at this point, and we'll turn this over to Alice, and hopefully give a chance to some divided family members to let you hear their stories. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Linton. Next, we're going to hear from some Los Angeles area residents, Korean Americans, American citizens, who are from these divided families. First, I'd like to ask Miss Lee, Sune Lee, Isune Harmony, to come up and talk briefly about her family in North Korea and how she's been searching for them.